We're in a new setup, as you can see. Still try to find a white wall background, but there's a window there, bit of a tea. We're in the living room right now. We're no longer in my girlfriend's mom's basement, which is fantastic. We're leveling up. We started,
I'm happy the window's open because I'll be sweating in about 5 minutes. So.
We started underground. Now we're on the 3rd floor. I wonder where we'll be in a year from now. Welcome to a new episode of the HardCast. Today we have a special guest. You may
special is pushing it, but yeah, I'm here.
You are a very special individual. Someone that's managed to take me to places I never thought I could go. Managed to kill me and bring me back to life all within one workout. The man himself is called Mike Van Wyck, the John Wick of the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Come out of nowhere and he will write you off, as he has done for me now, for actually 2 workouts. 3.
Yeah.
3. Yeah, we trained
2 recorded.
2 recorded. We hit a workout yesterday and I'm struggling to lie down because my back is absolutely obliterated. But dude, like, tell me a bit about yourself. Like, where are you from?
From Toronto. I was actually born just outside Toronto in a city called Barrie.
Yeah.
I just grew up in Toronto my whole life. I played a lot of sports growing up and I was always into like lifting weights and stuff. And I guess my journey with lifting weights brought me into like playing football.
Okay.
So I kind of lifted for football and enjoyed lifting more than I actually enjoyed playing football.
So in the beginning, like, you went to the gym to like increase your performance, but then you got fucking sick at bodybuilding.
Yeah, no, well, like, it didn't happen like that.
Okay.
Really, it's like my earliest like memory of wanting to work out was like watching WWF or WWE now. Of course, so I was like obsessed with like Ultimate Warrior and like the British Bulldog and like
just the way these guys
were just like super jacked, right? It was like, oh, this is how you should look as a man, right? So,
I feel like when we get started, like, everyone has like their own thing. Like, for me, it was like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
It was like on like Goku, the cartoon character. I was into anime a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I feel like whether it is like WWE, something, there's always something when you're younger. For me as well, it was a lot about boxing because I thought I was going to be a boxer when I was 12 to 14.
Did you train in boxing?
Yeah, I did. I trained for like 4 years. I had a couple of fights here and there. And I feel like when I was doing it, as I realized towards the very end, my uncle was very much into boxing and he gave me the Mike Tyson DVDs, the Muhammad Ali magazines and everything. And I guess I was just fulfilling his dream because he would be like, oh, dude, I hope you're excited for practice and stuff. Like, going to go to the club.
You're like, no, I'm not excited for practice.
Right. I'm so excited to get punched in the face repetitively for the next hour and a half. And I train quite consistently, and it was like a couple of times a week. But I realized, same as you, in the back of the boxing club, there were some weights and all the press-ups and everything and all the more like physique building training was more appealing to me than actually becoming a really good boxer. Yeah. So I fell into it like that. But so you started just because of that?
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I was super into football and I wanted to play football. So I had like a passion.
You got the build for it. Fuck.
Yeah, I had a passion for it growing up. So, but I played rugby and I transitioned to football late because
you played rugby.
Yeah,
as a Canadian.
Yeah.
I swear like UK, like that's mainly like a UK sport.
Yeah, like I played like inside center at like 240 pounds.
Oh my god!
And I was like an 8-man at like 250. So I just like literally scoop up and just take her off around the corner and
I would not want to run into people. No, I actually had a bad experience one time. First PE class of high school, you know, and they're like trying to select what groups are going to do what and stuff, like what you're going to be good at. And also, like, I feel like the first like couple of weeks and stuff in PE class, they just make you do a bunch of different sports to see what the class likes to do, because the PE teacher doesn't want to teach you anything new. They just want to like have an easy class, right? But basically rugby came around and I never played rugby in my life. I am 13 years old. I jumped into a tackle, obviously went underneath me, flipped me round on the ground like a pancake. Just fuck. I was.
Well, you got upended, like you jumped and the guy hit your legs out.
I jumped into it, but then the guy played rugby and he knew what I was going to do because I jumped, because there were 3 people running towards me like stampeding, and I was like, I am absolutely fucked. So I jumped, scared, and they went underneath me. I'm on the ground, lay there like in a pit of my own misery. And from that day, I was like, rugby is not for me. It just isn't.
No, I had like I liked football a lot, and I played rugby with the intention of one day playing football. It's just like the school I went to didn't offer it. Yeah. So like a lot of kids who play football growing up, like especially in America, they start real young, like 5, 6, as soon as they can
honestly
function.
Yeah.
They put a helmet on them and they're hitting each other. Right. So
do you feel like it's necessary to do that?
I mean, if you want your kid to be good at that sport, the earlier you start it, the better.
But you have to start
you got to create that framework. Right. So it's almost like
so when
with anything you're doing, you have to build a house, right? So it's like when you're a little kid, you're building the foundation of that house. And as you get older, you're building on top. And you're going to be way ahead of some guy who started when he's 14.
No, definitely. I mean? And I feel like it's the parent's responsibility to do that, right? Because the kid doesn't know. The kid, as a parent, you have to hope that what you're putting your kid into from the age of 5 years old, you're going to hope it likes to do as well.
You're going to hope they don't resent you for it too later on.
Exactly.
Because you robbed them of their child. Especially kids in Canada where they're I was never forced into it because my parents were super supportive of just whatever I felt like doing, they were down with it. And my dad was a pretty high level hockey player. Yeah. In terms of the minor system here. And so he was super into hockey, but he never pushed me into hockey. And it was very good thing he never did because I sucked at hockey. I was fucking awful at hockey.
Was it just the ability to control?
I'm just an idiot. I'm completely uncoordinated on skates. Oh, okay, I can skate, but just when you put the puck on my stick, I'm ugh.
Yeah, you forget how to skate. Or something.
It feels like 1,000 pounds hit my stick, and I don't know what to do with this thing. Right. Yeah. Whereas I started playing when I was 13 because basically to appease my dad a bit because I was I'll play house league hockey.
Keep him happy
on Sundays. And I would go and I was just why am I doing this? And he came to watch me a couple of times. He was just looking up in the stands. He just got his head down
son, this isn't for you, is it? It's just not for you.
He saw how well I did at football because I was getting I got looked at for scholarships and I eventually got a scholarship. So I had a lot of interest in me.
Oh, fantastic.
So he was okay, well, I guess this is your calling. Yeah. He's because I sucked at football and you're fucking awful at hockey. It's it's a trade-off, I guess. So.
And how long did you do that for? How long did you play football?
I only started playing football in 11th grade, so my second last year of high school. And I played summer leagues in Toronto because that's a big thing here. They play American rules up here in the summer leagues. So I got a lot of exposure doing that. And then I played all through college. I got a scholarship to the University of Rhode Island.
Amazing.
Which is a 1AA program, so it's below the top level. Sure. And I played there for I played for 4 years, but I was there for 5. So
that's incredible, man. And then, but when was the transition? When did you go into bodybuilding? Because obviously you're going to the gym while you're playing football. But when did it take a bit more of a front seat instead?
That's the thing is when I got to college, it's a different level of commitment. When I was playing high school football in Canada, it's a joke compared to high school football in America is a full-time job for these kids. Right?
I can imagine. Yeah.
We literally played once a week and we had practice every day after school for an hour.
That is absolutely nuts.
So that's why even when I sent tape down to the States and I had highlight tapes and stuff like that, the coaches would always call me laughing, be where are you playing in an open field, in the middle of nowhere? Cause it's just this massive field and no one's watching. And I'm I don't know. So when I went down there, it was a real shock. Cause it was football was 24 hours a day. You're either lifting, in film study or playing or practicing. Right.
I feel for anyone watching that's not well traveled or doesn't know much about America, Canada versus UK sport, I feel it's such a way of life in America and Canada. Like you said, you get your kid into something from the age of 5 years old and you drill it into them. They are an athlete. And I feel in terms of, one time I was in Boston and there's the Super Bowl on and I can tell that people have bets and everything in the pub that I'm in the sports bar. And the team that was the majority supporters team that was around the area, where we were, lost. There Patriots? Was cars being broken into, fences being torn off the ground and stuff. And I was just where am I? Bearing in mind, I hadn't traveled much. And I knew that
well, you have that culture. You guys have that culture with football over in
the
UK.
World Cup. Yeah. But that's
no, but even in your local, Manchester and
maybe I've just not been exposed to much of it.
You guys have gangs that go around and fight each other over that shit.
Well, this maybe was just a crazy experience, but I saw it. And I was people are treating this as if it's a religion.
Oh yeah,
as if
because
someone's mom Boston, just died.
You were in Boston and you were 100% watching the Super Bowl when the Patriots were. It
was.
So it's the Patriots is life there, right?
Yeah.
So is the Red Sox. So
absolutely.
Because Rhode Island is literally you could basically say Rhode Island is a suburb of Boston, Massachusetts, because it's like this big and it's right below Massachusetts. So it's like, I understand what you're talking about.
And it is a religion, and I've just never been exposed to anything like that before. And I can understand why like people want to get their kids into it so young and stuff, and like why you had such a passion for it and everything.
Yeah.
But then in terms of like when you did switch over to bodybuilding from that, when did you start competing? Like when was your first show?
Well, I finished my last year of college in Rhode Island, and I was like, oh, I'm fucking done with this, because at that point I had just had enough of football. Like I got offered, my coaches are like, oh, CFL teams are calling about you, because CFL teams will grab the rights to American University Canadian players.
Yeah.
And they'll draft them in the CFL draft, even without your knowledge. Like they'll just get the rights to you without you even saying, I want to be on your team.
You aren't your own person.
It's like, if you come back to Canada and you want to play in the CFL, this team owns the rights to you now.
Wow.
So I was like,
that's pretty,
and they were like,
intense.
oh, we have CFL teams calling us. Do you want us to give them tape? And I was like, fuck no. I'm like, I don't want to play football anymore. They're like, whoa, come on. I'm like, why would I want, like, I'm beat to shit. Like, I tore my ACL. I fucked my shoulder up. Like, all my hands are arthritic from like playing football. Like I would in like high ankle sprains that were as bad as.
So you went into the next best sport, which is bodybuilding.
No, because like that's like when I was playing down there, like lifting was the big thing. Like it's like put on muscle, put on size, get faster, get stronger.
Of course.
So it's like I was immersed in that life, right? But it was like more football type work. So it was explosive and like 1 rep maxes and all this bullshit. And then so It's like I've been exposed to all kinds of different training, right? And I knew. Like I was always into bodybuilding in the background. Like I always, even from like a young age, I always followed like Dorian Yates and like Sean Ray and
the UK
Kevin Levrone. Yeah. So I was like always into bodybuilding. Even when I played football, I used to buy Flex magazine. I used to watch stuff, and I used to like, I used to like be excited to be done football so that I could juice up.
That's
like literally it was like planning what I would take when I could finally take juice and not worry about getting caught.
How old were you when you first did when you became unnatural?
Oh, I did that in college, but
like
it was like
officially for like a bodybuilding stack.
Oh,
like when was your first cycle to like gain a shit ton of size or?
Well, the first thing I ever did, and no one knows this that I ever played with, even though they like quizzed me all the time, like, what are you on? What are you on? I was like, after my freshman year in college, I was like, okay, well, I need to get fucking bigger, like, and whatever. So I came back here, and a guy I trained with here, he got me test suspension.
Okay.
Because it's in and out, right?
Sure.
So you just like, and they don't even have good test suspension anymore. But this was like a Canadian veterinary kind. It was legit. So I took like, I want to say like a cc every third day. And I was like, I literally put on 25 pounds in a month.
That is absolutely mad.
Like my body just blew up.
And
I was like,
you was raring to go. Your body was.
But I was also sprinting then.
For it.
I was doing like a lot of football type work. So I was sprinting. I was doing like 400 meter sprints or 400 meter jogs in a sprint. I was doing all this dynamic stuff for football, and I was getting fucking faster too, and like more powerful. And I was like, this stuff's amazing.
Just from test.
Yeah, just from
That's insane.
Yeah.
But then what about like, you know, in terms of like a stack and stuff, in terms of like a prep stack, did you take anything to bulk up other than test, or did you just like?
No, I would just like during the summers when I would be off, like in our off season.
Yeah.
I would stay in Rhode Island after that, and I would train on there, and I would work, and
sure.
I'd take little stuff here and there, like D-balls or whatever, just to like.
What's that like?
D-ball?
Yeah, I've never taken it. Personally, like, I've only really ever taken substances that like help me get ready for a show.
Yeah.
On and off season, I guess some of the substances that I took to gain size on the off season was was T-ball. So it's like the lesser D-ball.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have your hair.
Yeah.
That's because you never went to like the dark side.
I haven't ever taken insulin or DECA or any of that sort of stuff that like people do typically take to gain size on the off season. But
you'd be good with DECA.
Well, I've stayed clear of it until like, well, I mean, I've been having conversations with my girlfriend about like what it's going to be like on the off season and like experimenting with different things that I've never taken, because obviously base supplements on an off season has been like, you know, test and primo, and it's done me okay. But I feel like to gain a good amount of size after this prep right now,
you'd be surprised. I mean, if you're getting good results on that, what you've been doing, there's no reason for you to be like, oh, I need this or I need that. Like, I don't know, a lot of people who follow you might not be like savvy to like some of like the not darker side, but like.
You mean like insulin and stuff?
Yeah. And just like the way drugs interact, the way they work. Like there's a lot of far smarter people than me out there. Like if anyone who Broderick Chavez is.
I've not heard of him.
Yeah, like if your listeners want to like look him up, like the guy's a fucking genius. Like if I knew a guy like Broderick when I was competing, not to say, oh, I would have done this and it would have, like, because I would have just been what I was, but like I would have, because I can remember like being back competing and thinking to myself, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, should I just take more of this? And like, yeah, take more of this. And your buddy's like, yeah, but this guy's using this much. I'm like, oh, okay, fuck, like whatever. And I look back at the like the combinations I was using, and it's like they were negating themselves.
Yeah, there wasn't like,
so it's like, it wasn't like they were both from the same type of family of testosterone, or this like 19 Nors or the DHTs. They were in the same family. So I was stacking all in one column.
So now you know
and
more.
not getting the other's columns, right?
So now you know more. You look back at that time, you're like, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah, because I mean, I just to have that guy's kind of knowledge, or just anyone with his knowledge to like be able to guide you. Because back when I competed, like the internet and like YouTube and Instagram, they weren't a thing, man. Like they were like evolving.
It was hard because
they were becoming something, but it was like, I can remember I had Instagram like near the end of my career, and they were like, oh, just post a picture on there sometimes. And I was like, because I was with Animal, and I'm like, all right. And so I'd like put the shaker cup down and take a selfie in the mirror, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like,
and it's so different now.
Yeah,
the way it's transitioned, and I feel like learning and everything. Well, first off, I want to mention that like clearly, it's really important to do like your research and stuff, because, you know, as you said, looking back now, you wish you knew more, right? Oh, so yeah. I feel like if anyone is going to go down the route of being unnatural, or, you know, you are unnatural right now and you are questioning various things and stuff, you can always learn more, and you should always learn more as well. Like you shouldn't just like, you know, oh, I've taken this cycle, it's going to work for me every time. There is so much to learn. Your body's going to react to different things in different ways and stuff. And it is, you know, the fact that now we're in this society where you have the internet, like Instagram, and there's so much access to like online coaches and stuff that know so much and are so educated. So it's worth diving into and learning as much as you can. I'm lucky because I have a coach and he's very educated, and I've been, you know, going to the gym now for about 7 years, but I've always had, ever since like 3 years ago, guidance over my whole like unnatural journey. So I've never done anything I would deem to be stupid, like crazy doses of anything. But I have a question. Have you ever taken a supplement that you would recommend someone not take? As in, did you ever get a bad reaction to something? I know this is personal, just to
like, is this like a juice or like
juice? Yeah.
Don't
like, what have you had a bad experience?
Stay away from Halo if you can. Like, I understand people bring it in at the end and they think it does what it does, but it's like, I'm not sure how much of a difference it really makes. But like Halo
a lot of powerlifters do Halo.
Yeah, because it's gonna fucking kick your aggression up through the roof, right? Like,
it makes
you're not gonna be a nice person to be around.
It makes you stupid strong. And you know, I was actually recommended to take it from a previous coach on my last 2 weeks of my last show.
Yeah, that's appropriate.
I told him no, because I did my own research, and I actually like answered back to my coach at that point, because he told me to take it. He was like, would you ever take Halo? I think it'd be good for the last bit of prep. And I was like, after the research I did and speaking to people about it, it ain't fucking worth it, because it changes you, or it can change you, especially when you're really sensitive.
Like, if you're going into the last couple of weeks of your prep and you think that some compound is going to make the difference, you obviously haven't done the work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're either lean or you're not. Like, it's not like, oh, I look like shit and I took Halo and then I won the show. It's like, no, man, like you either worked hard or you didn't. Like, Halo is going to maybe give you a fucking 1% difference in graininess, maybe, or it might, like, you know what I mean? It might wrap you a little more, but it's like,
of course,
at the end of the day, is it really like going to cause that much of a difference?
And I feel like it's always, it's important to mention as well that whenever you take a substance, when your body is more conditioned, when you are leaner, you're going to see what it does more. It's going to affect you. So if you're like literally 5% body fat and you take Halo, you're going to see what it's going to do. But if you're 10% body fat and you take Halo, you're barely going to see the visual difference. You're just going to feel a bit different, but like not really. Like,
yeah, like
they're not the secret.
These condition drugs, like people put it at the end as like their secret weapon. Like, they're not doing what you think they're doing. Your hard work and your dieting and your fucking dedication and your cardio is what's doing it. Like,
definitely.
And the drugs you have that have been in the whole time are way more available to your body than this thing you put in at the end.
Definitely. Like, if you think that like taking a certain substance is going to replace an hour on the Stairmaster every day of the week, you are so fucking wrong. what you're going to get from the diet and from the cardio and everything, that raw hard work, you're going to yield so much more of a better response, and you're going to look so much better than just relying on drugs. So many people, like, they don't know how to diet. They literally eat like shit. I remember going to a show, and I don't know how the guy won, to be honest, but he was telling me what his diet was a week before the show. He did the work during the prep, but then literally before the show, the day before, he had like a Domino's pizza. And then again, the day before. I understand a dirty bulk up, right? A lot of people like to load on fats and carbs and sugars and everything. Yeah. But he literally had like a pizza every night leading up to the show. And I was like, how the fuck do you look like this? And he said, Proviron, Clen, and Halo. He just rinsed all of it.
Well, he believed that's what it was, but it wasn't. I mean, like a lot of... That's the thing is, like, you'll hear stories.
Maybe he got that lean that he needed it because he was
flat. And that's the thing is, like, 2 pizzas isn't going to ruin your condition. As much as, like, crazy bodybuilder minds think, like, oh, if I have a bite of that fucking burger, I'm going to be fatter tomorrow. It's like, no, man. Your metabolism is cranking like a fucking, like a train engine, right? Like you're shoveling coal into it. Literally. Whatever's going in is gone. Do you know what I mean?
This baffled me because, like, 4 days before my last show, I had a mad binge. I broke. Yeah. And 4 days before,
probably fuller when you came to the show,
mate. I ate like 6,000 to 7,000 calories 4 days before the show,
and you're probably hard as a rock.
Yep, I depleted into it, and I won the show because. And here's me thinking, something happened when I was 19. It was my first ever prep, and my coach had drilled. It was only an 11-week prep. I was already pretty lean when I started, and it was just an amateur junior bodybuilding show. I've been following this plan for 7 weeks religiously because I'm like, you know, Kai Green, Phil Heath, all these bodybuilders are so fucking serious. It's all I know, like, you know, diet. And then my coach has a posing session with me, and he's just ordered in this massive tray of like Professor or Dr. Nuts peanut butter, all these different flavors. And he's like, Brandon, do you want to try one? And I was like, are you fucking serious? I've been following this plan for so long. And he gives me a big heaping tablespoon of this peanut butter. Yeah. And I'm like, are you sure? I'm like shaking. He's like, Brandon, do you really think this tablespoon of peanut butter is going to make you lose the show? And I was like, dude, I don't know.
No, it's crazy what happens to people when they compete, because it happened to me. Like, you know, I can laugh at that because I know what you're thinking, right? It's like, I've been there. So it's like, I would never fucking cheat. Like, I would never fucking cheat. I would like do shit like, oh, I'm going to chew like 30 pieces of sugar-free gum at one time and fill my mouth and like spit it out. I would do that weird shit. Like, I would just like get this gum and chew like wads of it, and then spit it out my car window, drive, put some more in. Like, I was fucked, right? So
you do weird things, man. I've like on a previous press, I've chewed up cookies and spat them out, and then swab my mouth out with water, just so I didn't consume any calories, and just spit it out.
It's like, you're better off just fucking eating the cookie, man. Get it out of your system.
It's just dumb stuff. And I feel like if you've gone through any sort of prep or like any sort of like, you know, strenuous diet, where even if you're just dieting for summer and you feel these urges and stuff, just remember, like, that's when it's fucking working. That's when, as soon as your body is like telling you to eat, that's when you should hold on for as long as humanly possible, because your body is changing under this period. Your body wouldn't be convincing you to put food in your mouth if it didn't need it.
But it also like, a lot of people don't understand like these cravings you might get, whether it's like, I have a sweet craving or I have a salty craving. Like, these are also like mineral deficiencies, right? So your body is like telling you it needs something, and it's telling you in your brain the simplest way to get it to tell you to what it needs, right? So it's like, you could be craving sweets, but it could be that you're depleted in sodium.
Of course.
So you take a scoop of salt, throw it in your mouth, and chug water. 5 minutes later, you're like, I'm not hungry now.
You're going to be fine.
Because your sodium is so depleted, right?
And that's why it's just a mental game. It's like, you need to understand that, like, what you're feeling right now, your craving for this certain food isn't real. You don't want that food. You want what the food is going to make you feel, which is just the replenishment.
It could be your potassium, B vitamins that might be in that meal.
Definitely, but we don't think about those things. Like, you're not thinking like, oh, I'm deficient in all these things. You're thinking of like the easiest way when you're craving. You're like, what the fuck can I put in my mouth that can stop this pain? And you know, and in typical fashion in this fucking society, it's about like, what's going to give you the most enjoyment, what's going to make me feel the best, because everyone's so like.
What's also like, what's the quickest way to do it?
Exactly.
So like, there's a lot of ways to do it, but it's like, I know if I have like this, because like, say if someone's craving pizza, it's like, well, you're probably craving salt.
Yeah, it's just
because you want something like, right, or your fat is low, or your fat levels are low. You want something to come into your body, right? So
and
it's like,
if you're gonna do it in like, if you really need that fat, if you really need that sodium, then honestly, like, I feel like a great way to do it personally is, instead of going to McDonald's and just getting a fucking cheeseburger, if you broke up an avocado and cranked a shit ton of pink Himalayan salt into it and just like a bunch of other things and just ate that, your cravings will be gone. And it's healthy fats, a bump in sodium, and you're probably going to be good after. I wouldn't recommend it, try and not do that, but there's healthier ways to like replenish those.
Well, there's also like, you can kind of keep your body on the right track by drinking things like mineral waters, and you can get like Redmond Real Salt has a electrolyte drink called Relight.
Oh, sick.
That people can get. It's on Amazon. It's different flavors, but like literally the mineral profile on that is perfect for your body. So it's like 1,000 milligrams of sodium, like what is it, like 300 milligrams of potassium, and like chloride and all this different shit. That's magnesium in it. So it's like, it's amazing. So like, that's what I'm saying. People on prep, like, you should be conscious of your minerals, because like you keeping your minerals at efficient levels, like even your chromium and things like that, is going to settle all those cravings. Like, it's not going to happen. Yes, you're mentally going to want stuff like, oh, I want a fucking donut, or like, I miss eating this, but you're not going to feel that like burning desire, like, fuck, I need something. You know what I mean?
So essentially, if you're craving, just message Mike. He'll call you a little bitch, and he'll tell you that you're not craving and you need.
I'd be the worst person to call, because I'd be like, then eat the pizza then.
Go and eat it.
Just fucking do it. Get it over with.
One thing you said earlier about your journey of like, playing football and stuff, and, going into bodybuilding, you'd like learn so many different like training styles and stuff, through hitting multiple sessions with you now, like your training style is something that is just pure like obliteration, but also it's very, very educated and very like, precise at the same time. Every single time you've told me to do a certain exercise or a movement, it's been so accurate. And even if like my shoulder or elbow or neck or just any sort of position is out of whack, you'll point it out, and you'll tell me to fix it, and to be conscious of so many different things. And it just makes me know that over these just 3 sessions, like, you're so educated in the standpoint of biomechanics and stuff, and how the body works and how to activate different muscles.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of that stuff came, like, I don't have any background in that at all.
Okay.
Like, I didn't go to school for that. Like, this is all just stuff I've learned from having really, really great people around me. So it's like, I've trained with a lot of great people that like when I was in high school going into college, I trained with a guy named Marlon, who is from Toronto. He is at U of T. He trained under Charlie Francis. Charlie Francis is one of the most world-renowned sprinting coaches in the world. Like, and he's one of the best drug guys in the world too, because he's the one who Ben Johnson, the world record, all this stuff, right? Marion Jones, like, he trained under him. So all the knowledge that he's learned from him, not all of it, obviously, because I don't fucking have any clue what he actually learned, but like what he learned from him, he passed on to me.
Of course.
And so I started understanding at a very young age, like how like workouts are, in the sense that you come into a workout with, like, he used to refer to it as like an envelope. Like, I have this much to give today, based on like how I ate, how I slept, how I recovered, how I feel mentally, all this stuff, that all these factors that give me this much energy for today. So like, some days I'd walk in the gym and he could tell, because I was an idiot high school kid. He could tell, like, oh, I was drinking the night before, or I was partying or whatever. And he'd take one look at me and go home. And I'd be like, what do you mean? He's like, you look like shit. He's like, I know you didn't sleep well, so go home. And I'd be like,
because rest is
because he'd be like, did you eat? And I'm like, yeah, this morning I had whatever. He's like, it's not enough. He's like, go home and eat, come back later. And I'm like, wow. So like, I was always turned on to like
you mentioned that as well. Like, when people have like a structured routine and a way of training, and almost like we had the logbook conversation, which we'll dive into in a second, but you said that like every day is different and you should treat every day different. So when you're trying to stick to a structured routine that's every day the same.
Yeah. Like, I get why people periodize stuff and they create like, this amount of time is for this amount of work. We're going to do this. It's going to be a deload or a fucking hypertrophy phase or whatever. I understand all that. I know what that is. Like, yeah, I understand, like, because people need structure. Like, not everyone's going to be like me. I've never had structure in my life. I've never written down a workout. I've never fucking like recorded sets. I've never done anything. I know in my mind my workout from the last time, because I care enough to remember it.
Yeah, because you're passionate about it.
Like, I give a fuck, so I don't need to write it down and be like, what did I do shoulders last time? Like,
yeah,
I know what I did.
But it's people as well, like, people become like very obsessed, and it's good to do this as well. Like, people that want to log their workouts and stuff and hold on to progression. Like, I do the same thing with like, pictures and stuff through preps. I like to refer back to various, like, the way I looked at that point and see, okay, here's the progression, and it can drive you and it can motivate you and stuff. But it's when it becomes a bit more of an obsession, it starts taking away from the workout. I personally have tried a couple different training styles. My coach, for example, he trains in a way that sometimes, if not all the time, or all of his clients carry around a logbook. Now, in the beginning of prep, he was like, I want you logging your workouts, doing all these things. And I was like, honestly, Callum, I'm stood here over my phone or my logbook trying to write in these workouts. Yeah. But I've now had a 3-minute rest time because I'm writing something in.
Yeah, the intensity suffers, right?
The intensity just goes. And I know the more you do something, the better you'll get at it. But, you know, through following this structured plan that was very well thought out, and I definitely like attach those ideals now to my current workouts. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, if you're so obsessed with, you know, logging your workout and, you know, doing everything precisely, you know, okay, this is something that I don't fucking understand. If you have to lift a certain amount of weight for a certain amount of reps, but on that specific day, as you said, every day is different based on sleep and what you've eaten. What if you can do so much more than the reps that you're meant to do? Therefore, if you
exactly. It's like, what if Yeah. And and that's what I mean. It's like, I've never adhered to that programming because like we talked about, it's like, there's so much that goes into like every day is different. So okay. like you guys last night, you said a party kept you up. Yeah. So you fucking couldn't sleep. So today at the gym,
cardio was hard.
Yeah. You would be like, I didn't fucking sleep well. I'm fucking irritated, whatever. Right. But it's like, or like there could be like nagging injuries or like, you know, maybe little twinges. Like I had a shoulder twinge last time where I felt something in my back. It's like, well, why am I not just taking like an account of how I feel that day? And yes, like if I write it down, this is my work to do. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to look through that. Like I know, cause I know myself and I know how I lift. Like I'm probably not going to hit that. I'm going to lower the reps here. I'm going to see how this goes and just go with it. And if it doesn't get as high, fine.
Of course.
But it's like, I think it's a better way to go about things than to think like, oh, if I don't hit this number on this lift, I've failed for the day. It's like, no, you haven't, man. Like when it comes down to it, all we're doing is trying to tear up muscle fiber in the most efficient way possible, and then build it back up.
Of course.
So it's like your muscle fiber doesn't know whether you do fucking this training or that training. And there's no fucking clue.
I feel like the foundation of this logbook style of training comes from two very, very, very dominant pillars that rule that style of training. One being always making sure the logbook is progressing. Therefore, it doesn't matter what you do. Let's just say
but there's going to come a time where it doesn't.
I know.
And what then?
Exactly. But on these styles of training, you have 2 loggable sets because you're not going to log every set, your 5 sets, your warm-up sets and everything. You are going to log those 2 sets. So now I feel like the fashion of the way this has gone, people neglect the first 3 sets and they'll do like 1 feeler set, 1 feeler rep, and then like the next set will be like 1 rep, next set 2 reps, and then they give it everything for the 4th and 5th set. And those are the sets they log. But also, you just missed out on so much. Yeah, that's so much of the workout.
That
just
mentality
by trying to
is like,
keep a high number in the book.
That's why I said in a video I did, like, we're becoming powerlifters. Like, if you were to just tell me that right there, and I couldn't see you, and you were just telling me that's how you work out, I'd be like, you're a powerlifter.
Yeah,
100%. What the fuck else are you?
I feel like a lot of these styles of training, it's very power building.
Yeah, it's like, mix. And that's what I mean. Everyone's correlated stronger to looking better, and that's not what's happening, man.
And that goes into the second pillar of the foundation of this style of training, which is the volume. You know, your overall volume of the workout. You know, I have a question. Anyone listening right now, what do you think is going to yield a better response or a better result in bodybuilding? I'm talking strictly hypertrophy, right? If you had a certain amount of volume to hit in a specific workout and you had to lift 1,000 kilos, if you could lift 1,000 kilos in 10 reps, so 100 kilos just 10 times, would you benefit more from 10 reps of 100 kilos equaling 1,000, or would you benefit more from
spreading that out?
Like spreading that out.
It's about absolute numbers. So it's like, I want you to get to this today. I want you to get to 365 for incline press for 5. And no matter how you get there, you get there. It's like, okay, well, like, would I also benefit from slowly working my way up to that and then maybe tapering back down with drop sets? So therefore, I'm getting more, I may be getting your work in, but I also want to get more muscle and more blood into the muscle, right? Because like,
of course,
when it comes down to it, bodybuilding isn't about strength. And it's like I told you the other day, you're not going to be on stage in whatever, like 4 weeks or whatever when you're on stage. And when you're standing on stage posing, they flash a graphic of like how much you fucking lift.
Yeah.
As if it goes towards your score. No one gives a shit.
Literally.
You can lift fucking 20 pounds and get arms that are 22 inches around.
You said you knew someone that like never lifted heavy but had incredible arms.
No, I know tons of people. Like I know tons of people, like guys that fucking, they curl like the slowest reps of 30 pounds and they feel every inch of their bicep. And these guys have the biggest arms in the world. They're not standing there with 80-pound dumbbells, rocking them up and doing all this stuff because they don't give a shit. They're trying to work one muscle and they're trying to dead all the other muscles around it.
Of course. It's definitely something to think about because like maybe this is something that I'm like not as educated in as I should be. And I definitely feel like, you know, I guess one of the reasons why this style of training is so popular right now in the UK is because of a guy called JP. Now, his style of training, and everyone is, you know, like now sees JP as the logbook man and tracking your numbers and everything and volume, no matter how you hit that, you know, the volume in a workout, it doesn't matter how you hit it because volume is volume. But as I was just saying, like, if you were to try and hit 1,000 kilos in 10 reps and you could do 100 kilos each rep, therefore equaling that 1,000 kilos. But if you could do that in like smaller increments for more reps, from a hypertrophy standpoint, you would gain so much more in bodybuilding because your muscles would be so much more full of blood from 30 reps over 10 reps.
That's what it comes down to, and that's what people have forgotten. Like, bodybuilding is about a pump. Like from the days of Arnold, like him in pumping iron, like the pump, I'm coming with the pump. Like I come 3 times a day, blah, blah. It's like, but that's what his goal was, right? Like, and that's what everyone's goal was then. They wanted these skin ripping, like tight fucking pumps where like I can't even, my chest is cramping or my biceps cramping or my back is so seized because that's the name of the game. So we eat tons of food and we're so conscientious about what we eat and our macros and stuff like that. All that is fuel that's going towards our goal of building muscle. So why don't I want to take that fuel and fucking hyper inject it into the muscle I'm training? I don't want to just stimulate it. I want my body to know like I'm causing fucking damage here and you need to send all that shit here. Like don't save it for over here and don't save it and sprinkle it around. I want that fucking going here. And that's the whole like thinking behind like, cause guys are like, I'm a big advocate of insulin. Like I've used insulin my whole career, like in bodybuilding, like I'm a massive fan of insulin. And so that's the thought behind insulin. That's what people don't get about insulin is like, that's why it's changed physiques. And that's why it's created monsters and it's created these beasts of people.
Well,
right?
If I ever dive into insulin, I know who I'm fucking talking to.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, that's what insulin does is like, you're taking it centered around your workouts. Like Milos Sarchev's like big on this. Like he's one of the biggest guys who comes up with like intra peri post workout insulin, all this stuff. There's other ways to do it and they're all fine. And everyone has their reasoning behind the way they like to do it. But I did that.
How would you do it?
No, that's how I do it. I center it around my workouts, right? Okay. I've done it other ways. I've experimented with like Lantus. I've like longer acting insulins, like shorter, not as long as Lantus, but longer acting. And I've done Humalog, and which is very quick. Sure. But I just find like, I agree with what he says overall, that I want to get all those nutrients into that muscle I'm training while I'm training it and right after.
Which is why you center it around your workouts.
Yeah. But that's the same with anybody, even if they're not on insulin. You're going to create that response naturally in your body. Yeah. So you want to take advantage of those times, right?
For anyone that doesn't know, like, what's the main reason people do insulin in bodybuilding? For anyone that doesn't know.
Because it's like the most anabolic thing you can do.
And what does it do in the body? Essentially, like, you know, because you said it helps drive nutrients to the...
Yeah, well, I mean, it increases appetite. It lowers blood sugar overall. So you're able to eat more. You're able to assimilate more food. It actually pulls, because insulin being released is what's pulling glycogen into the muscle or liver glycogen, replenishing it, right? Yeah. So it's like we want to create that vacuum of like, okay, I just trained chest. I obliterated it with like 40 sets, whatever it is. I trained like a crazy volume monster, right? So I want all the nutrients that are floating around my body, all that glycogen that I have stored when I take that insulin to fucking be like, send it here.
Yeah. It makes sense because like people that have like, you know, diabetes, for example, one of my best friends in the UK had type 1 diabetes for a whole year, and he didn't know why he wasn't gaining as fast as me. We actually started the gym together when we were 16, and at the age of 18 he realized that he had diabetes and stuff, and that's through insulin deficiency. So now he takes insulin, and now, or he has to do it like six times a day with every meal, all that kind of stuff. And basically what you're saying is like insulin can be such a foundation for like driving, you know, building muscle, right? So if you have a deficiency in that, if you have, you know, type 1 diabetes, you are going to struggle to build muscle because you're missing such a building block.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to like actual diabetics, you'd have to, I'm ignorant when it comes to that. Like I can't tell you what their mechanism is of why they need that. Of course. Like I have a basic understanding. For me to sit here and compare them, I have no fucking clue. I just know it's strictly bodybuilding. Yes. So it's like it's just it's one of the most anabolic things you can do. But it's got a bad rap because it's like,
don't sell it to me too hard.
Yeah, but it's got a bad rap because it's like, it's very dangerous. You could go hypoglycemic, your blood sugar could drop, you could fucking go into a coma, blah 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 blah. But
see, that's the thing. That's the scary part, because like when I talk about the dark side of bodybuilding, insulin's the first thing that pops up to me, because if you don't do it, if you're not someone that is able to stick to some sort of structure or routine created by yourself, like if you miss that window of like, if you, because you have to eat a certain amount of carbs around your workout when you do insulin, right? Otherwise you'll have a hypo.
There's basic equations where it's like, there's some people are like, it's 5 grams of carbs per unit of insulin, or it's 10 grams. People fall in those ranges, right? But like, you're going to get to know as you use it. Not that I don't suggest people use it. Like, of course, you should do your own research.
This is like, if I wouldn't. If you want to be a pro bodybuilder, sometimes in men's physique or classic, like you don't even need to think about the idea of insulin. But if you want to gain some serious fucking size,
but you'd also be surprised like the utility of insulin in like sports you would never think of.
Wow,
like track and field, MMA, like fucking tennis, like where you're shuttling nutrients to the muscle, right? So you need that Christmas list. You need that ultimate recovery, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to create an environment where you're recovering fast. You're assimilating food. You're replenishing glycogen very quickly. Those are all beneficial to any sport almost, especially a sport where you're like, it's high endurance or quick pace, like a sprinting meet or whatever it is, right? So all this stuff applies across all sports. So for people to think like, oh, insulin's just in the bodybuilding realm and creating monsters,
it's really
like,
not.
No, it's all over the place. And like, people don't talk about it.
We're in the business of creating monsters here.
Yeah.
No. Well, it's good to know as well, because I'm learning a lot as well. Like during this podcast,
it's like, it's not something like, for the simple fact of the matter is it works, and there's no debating that. Whether what people have based off their experience with it, maybe they didn't do things well, or they weren't conscientious about what they ate. But I mean, if you're a fucking pro bodybuilder, or this is your goal in life, one of your goals in life to become someone who's doing that, you're pretty fucking regimented, man. Yeah. So like, you have an idea how many carbs I eat per meal, how many this and this. I know I'm working out at this time. I know when to take my shake. And if you have all those variables figured out, it's just another tool in the shed, right? It's like, yes, when you tell people who don't know anything about bodybuilding, like, you're on testosterone, you're fucking crazy, man. Like, you're going to die. It's like, no, what? Like,
people ain't got a fucking clue.
Where do you come from that? That's what I'm saying. That's the bodybuilding community that feels this way about insulin. Not that everyone should use insulin at all. Like, if you want to do it, you want to do it, and you understand the benefits, then go ahead and go for it. But it's like, there's this other clique in bodybuilding where it's like, insulin's bad. Like, what the fuck, man? Or like, I use insulin and I got fat. It's like,
I've heard it.
Well, that's because you fucking took insulin and you thought you could eat whatever you want.
But
you thought that you could fucking stuff your face with bullshit. And you have to understand that when you take insulin, it's pulling everything in.
Yeah.
It's not just deciding, oh, I want some carb, and it's like all the fat, all the protein, all the carb, we're pulling it.
So when you're utilizing a tool like that, because that's what it is, like these things like anabolics, they are tools and stuff to be used on top of, because what it is, we take protein, we take BCAAs, they're all supplements. They're supplementing what you're currently doing as well. Like, that's what a steroid is. It's a supplement. You're not meant to rely on these things. It is a tool, a building block. And when you're taking something as serious as insulin, you need to be on your shit more than ever, because you could get fat. Like you just said, it's pulling in everything. Like, if you eat cheeseburgers all day every day, you're going to get fat as fuck.
It's just another variable to think of, right? Like, okay, when I take this, I'm not going to eat this, or I want to keep my fat low, or I want to keep this and this, or I want to have more fructose than dextrose, or like, you know what I mean? I want to keep things, like, I have to figure out that equation, right? And if you're doing that equation right, you're never going to feel odd. And if you're doing things like a lot of guys do now, they check their blood sugars all the time. I don't do that, because I go by feel, and I know how I feel. Like, trust me when I tell you, you'll fucking know when you're going to go hypo. There won't be a question in your mind of you going hypo. You'll know something's wrong. Like, you won't be like, I feel weird, I'm just going to hang out. Like, you'd be like, oh shit,
I need to eat something.
Like, something's happening. Yeah. I need to fucking eat something, right? Yeah. And a lot of guys, they think that when that happens, it's like, oh, we just gotta, that's when they start doing the hippo eating, like, they just start eating everything in the fucking room, right?
Save them, right?
No, but it is, because it's going to get carbon to them.
But it's more than they need.
Yeah, and so it's like, if you're carrying around like something like orange juice, or you're carrying any type of fruit juice, and you're on insulin, that fructose is going to get digested faster and replenish liver glycogen, which is giving you that weird hypo feeling, because your liver is in need of glycogen. So it's going to fucking pull. and you're going to feel fine. And then if your blood sugar is still low, start eating. You know what I mean? Like, so there's these little tips where like these guys, they take the insulin. They're told by the idiot who told them to take it, like, just eat, man. You got to fucking eat all the time. Like it's a ticking time bomb. You're always like racing against going hypo. Like, oh, I'm going to fucking go hypo if I don't eat. And then these guys are eating fucking 8,000 calories a day. And they're like, I got fat on insulin. It's like, yeah, man. It's like if someone told you when you take testosterone, hey man, you got to work out, and you worked out for 8 hours a day. It's like, what would happen to you? You'd get fucking shit results because your body be dead.
Definitely.
It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like,
well, guys, today on the HardCast, we have been taken to fucking school. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure you have too. But in terms of just like your plan right now with what you're doing, because I see you a lot at Pure Muscle and Fitness, and you're working with like Dorian and everything. What's the situation right now, and where do you want to go in the future?
Well, I mean, I'm
with this vast array of knowledge that you've built up over the years.
I mean, I've come back into bodybuilding. I took a long break from bodybuilding just because I was on to other things, and I was actually boxing for a long time. Like the last like 5 years, I've been boxing a lot. So it's like I just needed a break from it. So I came back to Pure Muscle, and I just got like I had known Dorian and Noah for a long time, and me and Antoine had been sponsored by like the same company on and off, and I knew Antoine like way back in the day. So I mean, I'm just happy to be back with those guys, and it just turned into me asking. Dorian asked me if I'd help out Noah, and Dorian asked me if I'd help out Antoine for the Olympia. So I showed him some back stuff, and then we ended up started training together. So it's just kind of like graduated from that into helping everybody, right? So it's like I'm 100% with them no matter what they're doing. So like if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing any of this, right? So
of course, and that's amazing. Like, so essentially, if anyone doesn't know who these people are, Dorian and Noah, they own HD Muscle, the supplement company I'm sponsored by. They also own Pure Muscle and Fitness, which is where I met Mike for the first time. And now essentially, Mike is at the gym and he's helping people. Originally meant to be just for Antoine, who is IFBB Pro, was actually at the Olympia this year, which is freaking fantastic. But now, with your expertise and everything that you've learned over the years, you're like sharing that knowledge with a bunch of people at the gym, people that like either are already IFBB pros or like myself that wants to be. The thing with me is like a lot of people like they'll ask me like, oh, this is your training style, or this and this. Like wherever I train is like how I train. Like it depends on the person, and yes, I have like kind of reoccurring themes in what I do. Like I'm a big fan of supersets. I'm a big fan of trisets. Like I don't like giant sets so much in terms of like 4 or 5 movements. But I mean, I'm just a massive fan of like movement. So like I see when movement's fucked up. So like if I see you do a pull, I'm like, it's fucked. Like I know why it's fucked, and I know how to fix it, right? You're definitely there watching people train, being like, why the fuck is he doing it like that?
No, yeah, but that's the thing is like I can. Like even when I trained people before, like my whole life, like I've seen, like I watch people move, right? Even if it's in sport or it's in the gym or whatever, like when you see efficient movement, you know it. Like it's a path there's no resistance to it, right? So like when I see guys doing things wrong, it's like, or not wrong. It's not wrong because they're doing it the way that they want to do it and the way they feel it. But it's like you start to see like, okay, well, there's a reason why this is deficient, because like you're always doing this.
Exactly.
I'm always pulling with my shoulders and my ears, and I'm doing this, so I'm not getting any lower back development or mid back development because I can't get this thing to go down.
And this is something that I've realized through my training as well. Like I before thought that like my back was like one of my like more genetically gifted parts in terms of like muscular development and stuff. But I've realized that even now, like through training through the back workout that we did and stuff, like it could have been so much more based on like activating the muscles in a different way, because I am very trap and rear delt dominant, which means my pulling movements always seem to find a way to go up, not down, which is what I need to do. I need to build the lats and the lower back, and my lower back is something that I struggle to build, and now I know why. And you may think you're doing something right, you may think you're comfortable, or the training style that you currently have is like working really well for you, and it might very well be, but there is always a better way, and there is always more to learn. And it's why it's fantastic to like get sessions in with you.
And that's why it's nice to work with, like it's fine to work with people who are kind of unexperienced or like coming up. But when you start to work with guys like you, or I start to meet with guys Antoine or Quinton or Regan or any of these guys, it's like I don't have to do much, man. It's like I see where you're off,
the tweaks,
and like you obviously have built like Antoine, Regan, Quinton, like you've built these physiques,
big guys
that are like to tell you don't know what you're doing is fucking retarded. Of course you know what you're doing. It's like, but let's try it this way too.
Exactly.
So let's make this lift harder.
Learning more.
Yeah, like let's make this lift harder by making you do this because you don't want to do it.
And these are the people that need the most help, to be honest, because if they've built these physiques, they've been doing it for a long time, and it's maybe time for a switch up. You know, it's the body gets very good at learning. You learn your training style. People know the way they train and stuff, but maybe it's then time when you've been doing it for so long to come around and try something new.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of guys fall into the trap, like, and me and Antoine have talked about it, and other people. It's like they'll come from show to show. Like, let's say, like, oh, my back is weak. Like my fucking back, man. They're telling me I need to bring my back up, and then they're like, okay, well, let's just fucking go heavy, man. And it's like, you've been doing that. Like, have you been lifting fucking light? Like, I don't understand. Like, the 4-plate barbell row was light, but you did it. Like, so obviously it's the way you're doing it, right?
Of course.
And that's what people don't get. Like, everything in bodybuilding isn't like the what you're doing. It's the how you're doing it. And that's what it comes down to. And people need to get out of that mindset of like, I just need to do more of this. Or the same way I've been doing it, but I need to do more of it and heavier. And I need to add in this lift that like, so-and-so does this lift. He's got a good back. So I'm going to do that lift. It's like...
You could do what you're doing currently.
The fuck are you talking? It's like me looking at Ronnie Coleman's legs and be like, Ronnie squats 8 plates. I got to squat 8 plates. I could never squat 8 plates in my goddamn life.
It's not a thing.
Nor would I ever want to if I could, because I'd fucking die. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not built for that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like when people start, like, guys really need to take account, like, when you look at your stage shots or your competition shots or a few weeks out shots, it's like, you have to be honest with yourself and like, see, like, do I have a lower lat? Because lower lat development in bodybuilding from the top to the bottom is fucking non-existent. It's like all traps, it's all upper lats, it's all fucking rhomboids. It's like everything's up here.
100%.
And like you see these guys, like that's why when you used to see Ronnie, like he'd pull a back lat spread, you'd see a Christmas tree go up. It wasn't a fucking faint line of like, oh, look how ripped he is. It was like muscle. Fingers grabbing his back.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because it was dense tissue, right?
Fucking incredible.
So, but Ronnie didn't say to himself, oh, I'm going to train low lat today. But if you watch Ronnie train back, he engages low lat all the time.
All the time.
He's doing bent over bar rows. His shoulders never come above it, never come up to his ears. His chest is always here. He's always pulling through. So he's always lat. He's always low lat. Same with Dorian. That's why Dorian and Ronnie had the backs that they have, right? Because they naturally did those movements.
And it's good to raise that point as well, because like just because something might not be working that you're doing right now, there maybe is just a different way to do it. There's a more efficient way to do it.
It could literally be like, if you always grab your dumbbell here, it's like, why don't we try and grab it here?
Yeah, just supinate the wrist a little bit.
Why don't we turn your wrist 1/4 degree? Because we know when you do that your shoulder retracts better than it did here. So like I grab things here and I row, or now I grab things here and I row. And I'm like, oh,
it's so much harder.
I can get more range.
Yeah.
I can lift my chest higher and my shoulder relaxes, right? So it's like, that's what I'm saying. People need to have fun in the gym. Like, you don't have to think like, and when you grab weight, stop fucking grabbing weight and getting tense. The worst thing you can do is pick up a weight and be here already. It's like, just pick it up and hold it there. Let everything really relax. Feel it. Like, let everything relax around it and have strong grip, and just let your body relax, and then set yourself where you want to be and start to move. You may not be able to do that with
like pure aggression straight away.
Yeah, you might not be able to do the whole stack, but I guarantee you relax in these positions and you have these triggers of like, keep my chest up, keep my shoulders down, row through things. You'll start to feel things engage that you never felt before, and you're like, holy fuck, like, what is that? And it'll feel like a cramp because that muscle's never fired before, right? But when we get people to do that, then you understand like, okay, it might be light to begin with, like light. But as soon as we start to get the movement in the form, it's like, okay, well, now I'm back to the weight I was doing before, all fucked up.
Exactly.
But now I'm doing it way more efficient, right?
And you're just waking up muscle fibers that have previously been dormant and stuff. And that's the art of like bodybuilding. That's the art of developing your best version of your physique.
That's in the name of the sport.
Yeah.
You're bodybuilding. You're not specific body part building. You're building the entire body, right?
Everything.
Every bit of that body you want to train, right?
That's it, man. Well, I do want to say, like, it's been an incredible experience. Like, thanks for taking the time out of your day to like have this chat and stuff. And I hope that, you know, everyone listening and stuff has been able to take something away from this podcast with Mike and stuff. Someone that is like, you know, so educated in the entire field of bodybuilding. And like, although like everyone has like different views on things, different, like some views might be quite controversial to others. Everyone has their own style of training. And I feel like one thing to take away from this is like, if you find something and find something that you love and you try and learn as much as you can about it and stuff. Nevertheless, like, you can always learn more, because there are people like we mentioned earlier, like JP and his style of training, but then there's yours, which is the polar opposite.
Yeah, and that's
both people are working, but it just shows that like you can always learn more, know more, and there's endless ways to do the same thing.
That's like a massive thing. I think that I've talked to other guys that since I've come on Instagram and people have become to know who I am a little bit. I get guys writing me who are like great trainers in their own right. They're not like these world-renowned guys, but they're these guys who have followings, and they put a lot of work into like what they do, and they're very conscientious about how movement works and explaining it and stuff like that. And I tell these guys all the time, because they'll write me to say something about what I did, and I'll tell them like, oh, I watch what you do. Because if you don't watch everybody, you're a fucking idiot. Like, how do you learn? Like, if I want to take some stuff that Charles Glass does, and like, maybe I like the way he does that, but I could see how it would work better if my wrist was supinated, or if I was in a steeper angle, or my chin was back, or whatever. Like, so you take these like frameworks from people all over, because there's so much information, right? So that's
what it is. To become like a well-rounded athlete, you have to pull from the best of everything. Like you can gain so much from like just a conversation, learning something. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, because, having, such educational, interesting conversations with various people, I wanted to make the opportunity, or like I wanted to make a place where I could have these conversations and just have other people learn from them as well, because like I love diving into deep conversations and just being like absorbing as much information as I can. Because we're here to learn. Like, we're not here to like try and like enforce our ways of living on other people. We're here to literally be a sponge, absorb as much as we can to pass it on.
There's so many good trainers out there, and there's so many like great bodybuilders out there that you can watch, and like you can see how they move, you can see how this trainer thinks. Like you talked about JP, or like I've talked about Charles Glass. Like, you may not be all team JP or all team Charles Glass or all Milos or whatever these guys, right? But like if you can like pick and choose from all these guys and make your own little style of training, or your own little way of doing stuff, it's like don't get stuck in the mentality like, I can only lift this way because this is what I do. It's like, yeah, but you're neglecting like all this great shit, because like, yeah, this could be your foundation, but you might like throw in like a little superset or a little this, or like I might do this like focus work of like really trying to get my mid back that I saw from so-and-so. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the key to becoming a great bodybuilder or a great physique competitor, is like, I have a thirst of knowledge, and I want to develop all this stuff. So I want to look at people, one, who have great genetics in that area, or they know how to train it well. I want to watch how they're moving. I want to watch where their hip is. I want to watch where their feet are, where they keep their chest. I want to do all this stuff and analyze their movement, and then understand why they're so good at that body part, right? And then apply it to me. So it's like, all this shit can be, you just need to like really pay attention to everybody and not like shut down people. Like, oh, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He knows something. He may not know at like in all levels what the fuck he's talking about, but he's probably got an idea somewhere.
That's it. Well, that's why like I hate this whole like the cancel culture in terms of like people knowing they think they know more than they do, because like everyone is entitled to know their own thing, and like everyone does know something. Like people aren't just like spursing out like pointless knowledge, because like they actually believe it themselves. So there is some truth in it.
And it's so rare to see like a top trainer or a top athlete or whatever, like if someone comes to them with a question. Like if someone came to me, if I had a training program, which I'm trying to put out right now, it's like if someone came to me like, Mike, I want to learn how to deadlift, I'd be like, I'm not your guy. I don't fucking deadlift. I don't like deadlifting. I think it's a fucking useless movement outside of people who are great deadlifters for the sport of deadlifting.
Of course.
So like, why would I want to disrespect them when I could say to you, go watch Steph Cohen's video and watch, that's deadlifting.
Exactly.
I don't fucking know. That is not my world.
And that's a good trait to have as well, because like people think they know everything, but like understanding that there are people that know more and stuff very in like a different topic, it's good. That's great, because it's like you can point that person in the right direction. Yeah,
and they'll appreciate you for it, because it's like, why would I give you instructions on a deadlift? I'm fucking winging it if I'm telling you. I'm like, yeah, just get down there and do this, and like I understand the mechanics, but I don't deadlift, so I can't even tell you from firsthand knowledge like, you should feel this, you should feel this sink, you should feel like you're, like I don't have the firsthand knowledge or the desire to deadlift. So like, I'd be like, go do that. Same with squat. I'm not a squat guy. I've squatted a lot in my life, and I've done crazy weights with squat. I hated every rep of it, because I just was not built for it. Like I get way more out of a hack. I get way more out of a leg press, doing things like that.
I definitely feel like I'm the same.
Yeah. So it's like, based on your structure, you're either good at those lifts or you're not. And for you to think that like you're good at those lifts just because you need them, I need to squat to get big legs. It's like you're out in left field, man. You're fucking lost in space if you think that like squatting is the only way to get legs.
There are so many ways to do the same thing. I feel like one thing to like conclude the podcast stuff is I feel like the overall message of this is to just be versatile and be a sponge. There is always more to learn, and no way is the right way. And like, you know, as long as you're consciously making an effort to get better at the thing you're trying to do, then that's all you can do. You know, that's all we can do.
Yeah, and develop your own style.
That's it, man.
Don't let other people fucking influence you too much.
Because the style that you make is the style that you'll leave behind. And if it's just the same as someone else's style, then you're just going to be leaving behind someone else's legacy when you got your own to make.
Yep.
All right, dudes. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the HardCast. Again, thank you for Mike for joining.
Thanks for having me.
If you did, let us know what you think. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If not, drop me a DM or drop Mike a DM. What's your Instagram?
Big Mike Van Wyck. I've actually never said that out loud.
Big Mike Van Wyck.
It was Antoine's idea, so blame him or make fun of him for it. Don't make fun of me.
My old best friend told me to make my Instagram name Brandon Hardbody. It's like a porn star name. it is what it is. Yeah. I think, guys, so that's it for the episode. Fuck. How do I say it? Like, I know, I'm so dizzy right now. I'm dazed.
You want me to do it?
Yeah. Do you want to end it?
Brandon's brain isn't working.
I'm 5 weeks out right now, and I'm literally like, all I can think about is my next meal. So you can end it. We will see you in the next one. Peace.